Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come, journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
And good afternoon, everybody. This is Jackie Bertoni, and you're tuned in to Jackie's Groove on this beautiful, beautiful, somewhat sunny, cloudy, men's afternoon. Welcome to the show. My brother Tino, are you there with me, my brother?
Yes, I am, sir. How you doing, Brother Jackie?
You know what? Doing well. I can't complain. Just building this roster list up. It's getting stronger and stronger. I can't believe the talent that's coming to this show and to this radio station.
Neither can I, man. I want to welcome you on behalf of WS Radio Networks because, brother, we're excited about all the new shows that you have coming up, and the show that you're going to have today is going to be amazing. And the shows that you're having in the future, I got goosebumps because these guys are the players that I've always idolized growing up, and it's going to be an amazing time, an amazing journey on Jackie's Groove.
I have to admit to that. Do you want to talk about the upcoming guest? Or should we just kind of let's give him a little bit of a teaser? But the one of my upcoming brother drummers has been employed for years by the King of Pop, better known as Michael Jackson, God rest his soul. And that would be Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffett. Yeah,
Jonathan's awesome. He is an amazing man, amazing talent. And he's inspired a generation of players, so that's exciting. Of course, after this segment, after we talk, we got Juan Carlos Quintero is going to be joining us here midway through his interview. You did a pre-record of that previously, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, Juan Carlos is an amazing Colombian guitarist. He's got a string of 12 albums on his own. Hits, beautiful Latin jazz, Latin cumbia, cha-cha-cha, merengue, whatever he's playing, you want to dance to it, you want to shake that booty, for the lack of a better word. Exactly. He's also stepped in, as I always tease him, he stepped into the dark side. That means the other side of the music business. And he is head of music at Saban Music Corporation. And Saban Music, of course, is the leader in their field with the Power Rangers and CSI series and anime series and Paul Frank. And I'm sure we'll get deep into that.
Yeah, but even though he's on the dark side, he'll have the Power Rangers come save you if he needs to.
Absolutely. And so the fact is that the reason why I'm interviewing Juan is Juan and I go back to 1992. And if we're really aging ourselves, and we became brothers from the first time we met, just like you and me, Tino. It was an instant gratification of each other's talents. And through that, we set that aside, and then we became brothers just in our passion for family and moreover, music.
Yeah. And I think that, the experience that you have with these guests, like you said, Juan Carlos Quintero, after that, you're going to have Gumbi Ortiz will be coming up. And, of course, you've got just a list of all these incredibly talented people. Gumbi Ortiz with al-di-meola, just a tremendous talent. How far back do you go with Gumbi?
Actually, Gumbi and I have been fans of each other's playings over the years itself. We've always been in that drum circle. But to share with the audience, I've actually met Gumbi face-to-face for the first time probably about 3 or 4 months ago in San Diego when Al came to town and brought his crazy players over to the Balboa Theater in San Diego. And that's the first time we actually sat down with each other, gave each other a hug, and put face-to-face and voice to the face, and it was wonderful. Well,
I'm there next time, man. You and I, brother, we're going to be definitely having some adventures with these players, and we're looking forward to this whole NAMM show. You're going to be broadcasting live from NAMM, so that's going to be exciting as well. And, we've got some incredible news that'll be launching at that. So, there's just so much going on here. I can't help but jump into my own. I'm going to ask you questions on your own show.
Please.
What are you most excited about for your show launch, the NAMM, and everything else that's going on?
Well, I'm excited by the fact that I've always had the gift of gab, for the lack of a better word, and I am now getting the opportunity to bring the listening audience into our world, this crazy world that we call music. And we're going to sit down with these interviewees, and we're going to talk about subjects that you most certainly won't read about in the Rags or Modern Drummer magazine or Keyboard magazine, Bass Player magazine, and the like. And we're going to be talking about things that we all, as musicians, have experienced on the road, traveling, craziness, food, fans, and the love and the dislikes of the industry itself. And so what we hope to do is...
no holds barred, right?
Absolutely. It's going to be like Tino and I sitting in the backyard having a cocktail and a cigar, and we're just going to basically shoot the you-know-what, and hopefully if people find it interesting, they'll tune in every Monday at 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and I know they will. Yeah,
and I'm sure they will. It's... Like I said, we're really excited to have you on our network, and we're even more excited to have just your indomitable personality, kind of infusing energy into everything that we're doing over here. And we've got so many great things that are launching on the network musically. Let's kind of go back to a couple of the guests that you have coming up. Who else do you have online? You've got we obviously talked about Gumbi and then Jonathan Moffett, but so who are some of the other ones?
We've got coming up also, fingers crossed. We haven't locked in dates on every one of these people, but they're juggling because these are touring, working musicians, and we have to work with their schedules, as this is a talk show that they'll be calling in and or being face-to-face in the studio. So my show producer, Tracy Smith, who is a godsend to me, she's the one that does the juggling, so she takes the circus act away from me, and she takes over the craziness.
She's kind of your Baba Booey.
Yeah, she's my Baba Booey, and she's doing an amazing job. And so we've got coming up, we've got Wilfredo Reyes Jr. He is for years the drummer for Santana, and now he is the actual, for the past 6 years, the percussionist with the iconic groups Chicago, and we all know 25 or 6 to 4. Saturday in the Park, etc. So he's going to join us, and followed up hopefully soon with Tris Imboden, who's celebrating nearly 30 years as the drummer for Chicago. And we're also pretty excited, or actually ecstatic, the fact that I think, Tino, at the end of April, first part of May, we're going to be bringing in some of my brothers from the iconic group Toto, and that would be Lenny Castro, fellow percussionist, Steve Lukather, a guitar god, and also Leland Sklar, who's played, we all know Leland, the crazy bass player, long beard, looks like a member of ZZ Top, and Leland's touched the stages and graced the stages with James Taylor and Fleetwood Mac and the like also.
And he's also a mutual friend of, a good friend of ours, Michael Boddicker.
Absolutely, and speaking of Michael Boddicker, I hope to meet him face to face. I'm a big fan of his, and hopefully he'll reciprocate for the fact of all the years I put in this industry, and talk about his legacy. Just when I think I've done everything, it falters in review of what Michael's been able has accomplished to date. Also, Ndugu Chancellor, Michael Jackson's studio drummer, whereas Sugarfoot is his touring drummer. We're still talking like Michael, like he's still here, but his music will be here forever, of course. Yeah,
obviously. And then all the players that have touched his music, Michael Boddicker, of course, Ndugu Chancellor, and of course Jonathan, all great players. So.
Yeah, and if I can go on also, my dear friend of mine, Ray Green, who has graced the stages as Tower Power's lead vocalist for the last 2 years. Ray actually, through the Valentine holiday, is leaving Tower Power and joining forces with the rock legends Santana. So he'll be taking over the position of Tony Lindsay, and he'll be lending his talents to another Bay Area band. And so it'll be a nice transition talking about Tower Power, who I started with back in '79, and we'll be talking about all of our friends, mutual friends now, with Santana. And again, speaking of Santana, we'll have Carl Parasso on, and your dear friend Benny Ritfield, the bass player. So it's limitless. I'm definitely going to use my 30 years in this business and my friends to name drop and bring these people in to share their stories and their history with the listeners. That's my story.
That is your story. Yeah, you should, because it's an amazing story, and it's going to be an amazing time. I can't wait. I'm going to be here working with you in the behind the scenes, capacity, and of course, we're going to be going to NAMM and just talking to all these wonderful companies and wonderful players that we both know, and sharing with them
Can you believe that NAMM is coming up again? It seems like it was yesterday.
Right. It's crazy as things go.
I'm worn out thinking about it.
Yeah, you know what? I'm feeling we're gonna be having some big announcements at NAMM, so this is going to be a huge time, and again, Jackie, I want to thank you for coming on board with us, because this has definitely been a huge milestone for our humble but mighty WS Radio Networks. So that is tremendous.
The really cool thing about this, and we've talked about this off the radio, but this will be my 26th outing to NAMM. And for those who don't know what NAMM is, it's the National Association of Music Merchants. It's a gathering annually at the Anaheim Convention Center, in which basically everything from A to Z, and then the alphabet that hasn't been made up, has to do with everything music, from 10 to 6, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Then Sunday it's 10 to 5. The real fun is at 6 o'clock on, where there's dinners and there's parties and there's the rubbing the elbows with the iconic musicians out there. I'm still starstruck, and I'm sure you are too, regardless of how deep we've been in this business.
Yeah.
And so we will be doing that. Looking forward to, like I said, we'll have our annual dinner at Saturday, and hopefully you'll be available and you can join us for dinner.
Yeah.
It's undisclosed where we're going to be at this point, but we will have a crazy bunch of people enjoying ourselves. So that's what that is. And again, I thank you, and I thank Wade, and I thank Paul, and I thank Tracy, and everybody for having the faith in me and welcoming me to the WS Radio Network. And they are, must be honest with you, they are the internet leader, of the worldwide leader in entertainment. So I'm having a hell of a time talking right now. I just burnt my tongue on coffee. So nonetheless, I'm looking forward to this new venture. First time at NAMM as a radio jock, and hopefully it won't be the last.
Well, you're starting your segment with Juan Carlos Quintero in the next segment, right? So let's go on and sign out.
Once again, thank you very much. You're tuned in to Jackie's Groove. This is Jackie Bertoni on the WS Radio Network, the worldwide leader in Internet Talk Radio.
You may have heard me brag about Progressive Medical Center and just how much they've helped me with my health. And Dr. Goley, one thing that you have helped so many people with is migraines.
Unfortunately, there are millions and millions of Americans who are suffering with migraines and headaches, and they're debilitating because it affects the quality of their life, and they cannot function properly. At Progressive, we get to the root cause because we understand that migraines could be caused by nutritional deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, believe it or not, delayed food sensitivities. And once we determine what the real reason is, we put a plan of action together with medication that we get them off slowly, and we put them on an all-natural approach, and the results are amazing.
Incredible. I mean, there's so many people that can say they don't live their lives with migraines anymore thanks to Progressive Medical Center.
And that's what's exciting and rewarding to us as physicians, because we help our patients take control of their health, and that's why they're living well.
Why don't you get a hold of Progressive Medical Center today? Don't live in pain. Don't have migraines anymore. Just go to their website, progressivemedicalcenter.com.
This is your life. Live it well.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, CEO and founder of VinVillage.com and the Wine and Dine Show on Vin Village Radio. Do you have a wine, event, product, or service to promote? Then contact VinVillage.com to reach thousands of wine lovers across the country. Vin Village connects like-minded wine enthusiasts with unique and exclusive wines, events, products, and services. To learn more, contact us on VinVillage.com. Vin Village is where wine lovers connect.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come, journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
What up, everybody? Welcome back to Jackie's Groove. I'm Jackie Bertoni, your somewhat infamous radio talk show host. I want to throw a special thank you out to Pitbull Audio at www.pitbullaudio.com, where they want you to play it loud, and all of our friends at SIR Studio Instrument Rentals, and you can visit them at www.sir-usa.com, and to all of our other sponsors that make it possible for us to be here on the air for you beautiful folks. We left off the last segment 1, with great Columbia guitarist, jazz artist Juan Carlos Quintero. And we left off talking about your tenure in the clubs in Freehold, New Jersey, making your way up the ladder to where you are today.
Well, yeah, so it was during high school, actually, toward the end of high school. I ended up playing in some top 40 groups. But, you know, the thing about playing top 40 band in a top 40 band, and I think all musicians would agree with this, is that it's a really interesting training ground because you learn about songwriting when you have to learn other people's songs. So just by working out whatever the song is, you know, of the day, you end up learning about form and melody, structure, and it all adds up to just this understanding of what a song is about and why it connects with an audience. You know what I mean? So really, you know, when you talk to when you work with a musician that came up that way, they have a really intuitive sense of songs, and they have an appreciation for it, and they end up. That wasn't me, by the way.
Absolutely.
That was Apple burping.
But you end up with this kind of intuitive approach to music that has these built-in structures to them. So you're hip to this idea of a verse or two verses, a chorus. You know, coming back to the verses, the bridge, the instrumental part. You know, the solo, whatever. Back to the chorus.
Did you really put that much thought process into playing in a top 40 band, per se, when you're on stage? Was that going through your mind, or were you looking just to make sure the bartenders were pouring drinks? And
I don't think you really think about it. I don't think you're thinking about it in this way. You know, I don't think you're, you know, I hear a lot of little bubbly sounds.
Yeah, that's the wonderful thing about live radio.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, you hear about, I mean, you're playing the music, you're learning it because you have to learn it for your set, but you're not worried about, you know, why it works. It's later on, it seems, you know, that you end up with this appreciation because you've been dealing with it, and you find out, you get this sensibility about why it's on the radio, why it is top 40. You know what I mean?
Well, I love it when you and we frequent a lot of restaurants together, and we do hang out itself, and I tell everybody we can be sitting there talking, all of a sudden in the overhead you'll hear you know, Eric Clapton tune or a Santana tune, and Juan will always put his finger up to the speaker and say, listen to that, it's going to be a hit one day, you know. and it's like, I mean, I thankfully myself, I really didn't have a tenure in the nightclub acts itself, because I went from a local band that played all of the big Battle of the Bands, and we aced that, and then I made my way on to the stage with Tower of Power, so I really didn't have to pay that many dues per se, but once I got into the professional vibe, there was a lot of dues to pay. So with that said, when did you realize the fact that the top 40 gigs were going to be no more for you, and you had much more to offer?
Well, you know, it's a training. It's a step that you go through. You know, when you learn other people's music, so it becomes like a training ground. So for me, it was just a couple years, and I went to Boston, and you know, once you're in music school, you're learning other top 40 music. So in the case of Berkeley, you were learning all the standards, you know, the repertoire, and you're trying to work out Coltrane, Miles Davis, Wayne Shorter. You know, you're trying to figure out that music, and that's a whole nother set of top 40 songs, if you will. You know what I mean? Then you're not going to play at the club, but you're going to play at a jazz club with other guys that know that music, and there's an audience that's really discerning, and they understand that you're now doing a version of Autumn Leaves that you're going to own or try to own.
Did they get it?
And sometimes it's great, and sometimes it's not so great, and you have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what you're going to do to that music. And that's probably the biggest challenge, is because that music is so well known that by the time you get to it and doing your version of it, you better have something to say that is unique to add to that list of renditions that are out there. You know what I mean?
Now, again, going back to the way back when, your first release, 1990, was an album called Medellin. Correct me if I'm wrong?
Well, it was actually a self-titled album, and it was re-released as Medellin years later. So it came out initially as just under my name, and it was later on with another label that we reissued it with a new cover, a new title, but the songs were the same. And so we had like a second life. So a lot of people know that album as Medellin, or they know that music coming from that album
Cool.
as music from the Medellin record. And then a lot of folks, know it as the first one from back in the beginning,
What inspired you to write the tracks on Medellin?
A lot of that music came from a portfolio of music that I had to submit at Berkeley to graduate. I was a composition major, so there was a handful of that music that came from that process.
Is that what the album, my favorite song, Barcelona, came out of?
Barcelona was part of the thesis, if you will.
Give the listeners a vibe itself. When you told me about the keyboard player sat there, there's either at dusk or dawn when he recorded that his track.
There's a segue that features a grand piano in. Now I can hear myself.
Perfect.
I hear you very well.
Let me just interject real quick. Again, this is the first show on Jackie's Groove itself, and again, I will be doing everything from my studio. And when the listeners will be listening in, and my guests will be actually in their studio or via phone, wherever they are in this world. So they decided that we wanted to do everything live in my studio. So we're kind of going through the growing stages and the growing pains. So hopefully it's not distracting to you, because it's just bugging the living hell out of us over here.
I think it's great, man.
Okay, cool.
The more noise and the more cables in the background,
Exciting times.
Yeah, it's
cool, man.
Cool. The scaffolding is up, but man, that to me is what makes it a vibe. So, by the way, you're really loud in my headphones right now, Jackie, which adds a whole other dimension to our.
And you're very loud in my headphones too. So if we can get the control room to bring us down to
I may send you a Christmas card this year in a whole different way.
Absolutely.
You're like inside my head right now. You're inside my ears in a very profound way.
So when you brought out the re-release of Medellin itself, and when I hate to use the term because I know you can't really stand this term, but was it labeled as smooth jazz?
It later became smooth jazz because smooth jazz happened. But when I was making that record, I was just recording songs that I had written, and so I was coming from more like, okay, what would happen if Bob James started making Latin records, And Bob James was around way before the whole category happened on radio. So it was just the stars lined up, and I had a platform on radio, which of course, I'm very grateful for. But in terms of the true, I don't know how to put this without offending anyone. Oh, you know what? Screw it. Let's offend everyone.
Why not?
But later on, that category became a category that was really built on a design, and a design where a lot of the musicians you heard on those records weren't playing. It was machines, So we didn't do that. Everyone was sweating it in the studio. Everyone played, and I'm sure they'll get a lot of emails and everyone saying the opposite, that everyone did play. But I can tell you that a lot of people didn't play on their albums.
But now on your album, how did you pick up the roster that you got? I mean, the who's who of Latin players that actually joined you on the tracks. Do you want to go ahead and share their names with you?
Well, it's a whole range of guys, that just by being in LA and being introduced to great talent, and much, and a lot of those introductions came from my producer Guillermo Guzman, who's a brilliant producer, very talented,
an amazing bass player,
amazing bass player as well, and he played on a lot of the music, but he would bring in and introduce me to a lot of musicians. Now I have to think. Okay, Eddie Resto on bass,
absolutely.
Luis Conti on percussion.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, Ramon Banda would play.
Let me help you out here, Cook. Going back through all these luminaries itself.
I'm thinking of tracks now, just who's who did what,
But let's talk about one of your legends that you've always spoke highly about, and who's left us way too soon. Mr. Tedesco.
Yeah, Tommy Tedesco was very much a mentor to me, and he played on my first album. He was so gracious about that. He came in as a guest, and he made it eventful, but he also just showed me what it meant to be graceful, just by offering his talent in such a way. And letting me, well, first, giving me that, but also finding an avenue to let everyone know about it, which he did.
Okay, let's pick this up on the third segment about Tommy Tedesco, your mentor.
Sure.
And we'll be back right after these short messages and pause for the cause. And you're listening once again to Jackie's Groove, powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come, journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
And we're back, everybody. How are you? This is Jackie Bertoni. You're tuned into Jackie's Groove on the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in Internet Talk Radio. I'm sitting here with my dear friend, longtime friend, amazing jazz guitarist, Juan Carlos Quintero. Juan, say hi to everybody.
Hello.
And I'm also sitting here with my good buddy of mine, Florentino Benaventura, and his show you can also check out on the WS Radio Networks, which is called The Changing Stage. Check the website for his airing times. Tino, say hi to everybody.
What up, everybody? I'm on Jackie's Groove. This is awesome, man. Amazing talent you have here with this gentleman, Mr. Juan Carlos. He's playing some... I just want to listen, man. I just want to have a good time with this.
I want to... we left off and we were talking about Juan's mentor, Tommy Tedesco itself,
Yeah.
and we have actually kind of a really cool kind of a vibe, almost kind of a correlation with all my years with Brian Wilson and Tommy being one of the responsible members of the Wrecking Crew.
That's right.
Which played on everybody's album from Sonny and Cher to the Spectors and so on. Go ahead and lead on that itself. What exactly did Tommy do to inspire you to be a better Latin jazz guitarist or guitarist, period?
Well, when I met Tommy, he was out in music school out of Berkeley, and he... it's actually interesting. It was just one of those moments. I was literally taking a guitar lesson with William Levitt, who was the chairman of the guitar department. And Tommy walked in with his wife, Camille, and he wanted to check in. He was doing a workshop later that afternoon for the students. So he arrived early, and he wanted a tour of the school. So I just happened to be there, and William Levitt asked me to take Tommy around and show him the school, which I did. And out of that, we just got to know each other, and we chatted it up quite a bit. And I, let him know that I was interested in coming out to L.A. to be a studio musician, I thought, at that time. And I ended up coming out here, of course, to do that, and I did do that. I ended up touring with a lot of musicians, different artists, commercials, and all
that.
Commercials, all kinds of stuff. And it was through Tommy's introduction and his ushering me into the scene. So when I came to L.A., Tommy was my first call. He knew I was coming out here, of course, and he brought me to sessions, film dates, big ones, where I got to really learn by doing it. And he threw me a bone, took me under his wing, and we became very friendly, just super gracious,
You know, when you made it and arrived in LA itself, when you recorded and the first album came out, how soon from the release of that album did you make it into the club scene, the jazz scene, like Lava Lee and Lee Cafe and Bon Appetit and the like?
Well, I was playing those clubs before any record came out, and they were like they were nice. They were really, really strong places to play because it enabled you to work out your craft, you know, and work out the music, see what works, see what didn't work, you know, and just get a sense of how this was going to be, how this was going to end up on a record. And
it's such a shame because those great clubs have fallen by the wayside due to economic situations, restraints. I know there's the lack of the love of Latin jazz per se.
Yeah, and you know, and I wasn't even thinking of it in terms of Latin jazz. I mean, there's true Latin jazz. I'm more of a hybrid guy. I'm breaking all the rules. I'm using, you know, I'm performing with Latin players that really do that well, and they are willing to cross the street, you know, and just be in my little kitchen of how I'm doing it. And so I'm using a lot of Colombian rhythms, and I mix it up quite a bit. Sometimes we'll go out and do festivals and I'd be introduced as a Latin jazz musician, but I always kind of smiled on that one because for me, you know, the Latin jazz, you know, true Latin jazz artists would be like Eddie Palmieri,
absolutely,
Poncho Sanchez, Tito Puente,
Mongo Santa Maria.
Mongo Santa Maria, of course.
You know, it's funny because me being a percussionist, people assume that Jackie is a Latin player, which I am not a Latin player. In fact, I have to thank Juan for all the times and as our relationship started building over the years when Juan was playing at the notable jazz clubs, Juan would scare me, for the lack of a better word, because you would have these great percussionists such as Machito Sanchez and Muñongo Jackson and Luis
Machito
Conte.
Sanchez, of course.
Absolutely. Lenny Castro. I mean, the list goes down the line. Ron Powell. These are all, and people I'm mentioning are all going to be guests on future Jackie Groove shows.
Great.
But Juan would welcome me up on stage, and it was like all of a sudden, as Juan always called me, the king of pop percussion because of all my longevity in the pop format of the groups I recorded with. So I learned firsthand and how to be thrown into the fire to be playing and be surrounded by these great players like Joe Rotundi on keyboards and Eddie Resto on bass. Angel Figueroa on percussion.
Amado Ruiz.
Amado Ruiz. In fact, speaking of Amado, Amado, by the way, was just nominated for a Grammy.
That's right.
Unfortunately, he's a little bit nervous because he's going against Mr. David Bowie, our late David Bowie.
Know, it's all good. It's all part of the conversation.
You know, and if it sounds like we're sitting here and we're name dropping, yeah, we are name dropping because we've got to pay homage to all of our brothers in arms out there, the guys that have started out in the trenches and the guys who are still in the trenches. And, you know, you never step out of that. You're always fighting to keep that yourself relevant, yourself up on top, you know. And we can go on for years about all the stuff in the clubs that you played and so on, but people recognized Juan not only for his playing, but also for being very, very wise and prowess to business, which led Juan, I kid him, of course, and I say he stepped out of the music business or the music side and he stepped into the dark side, into corporate America. Juan made his way through his own company of Mundo Records, and he parlayed that into his tenure at Warner Chappell. Go ahead and talk about that.
Well, you know, it's kind of a long journey, but I'll condense it. You know, when I was at Nova Records, I would bring in demo tapes of friends, you know, great talent that I was very passionate about, and every time I would introduce their demos, it was declined. It was passed on because it didn't fit the model.
Dave Gimple, right?
Yeah, Dave Gimple was running Nova Records, but you know, the music wouldn't fit into what the model was for the company, which was more of a smooth jazz thing, you know. So world music, for instance, or Latin music, just wouldn't fit that. So out of that, you know, an opportunity came my way, and it was basically an invitation to start Mundo Records as a division, which I did, and I would sign artists and produce them.
How many albums that carry your namesake do you have in total? I think it's 9 albums you have out.
I released around 12. There was a few compilations, and I like to count them as part of that process because they were all individual releases, and they all did their own business, if you will.
Now, tell the listeners out there itself when you made your transition from Warner Chappell into your current position at the music mogul Saban Music. Go ahead and talk about what you do there.
Well, I was writing production music for Warner Chappell for quite some time. There was a division called Nonstop Music, and really what they did was they hired composers to write music for production music, and basically music that would end up on placed in TV and film. So I had an opportunity to write different kinds of music that I would normally not write for myself or my albums. So I would write like Japanese chill albums and Americana, Buddha Lounge. I did Bollywood records. Just whatever I wanted to reach into as a composer. So when I put on my composing hat, I'm not that Latin jazz world music artist. But I'm just a composer trying to dig into different kinds of music.
But you're also involved in the music productions for CSI, for Power Rangers, for the anime series.
So out of that process, my music ended up being placed in a lot of TV shows, including some of those. And so you learn, I ended up learning about music supervision, how that works in production music. And one thing leads to another. You end up meeting folks in that side of the industry. So it led to an opportunity to work for Saban Brands, which is a company owned by Haim Saban, and he's the purveyor and founder of the Power Rangers. So before I knew it, I was managing music for 800 episodes plus of that property, and which led to other TV shows that I'm currently producing and managing music rights for under his umbrella.
And I love the fact, too, also, for those who don't realize the fact, the beautiful Saban Theater in Los Angeles, which plays host to the who's who of the music business itself.
Oh, sure,
And it's the people like that have the money that keep this dream alive, us, and able to put our music in front of the people. I kid Juan when I say about stepping over the dark side, but the fact is I've always told Juan, and for those who have ever had the pleasure of seeing Juan in concert, not only is he an amazing player, but he's such a great front man, and I've always begged him for the last few years, he's got to get back into this himself because there's that lack of that vibe. And Juan shared with me not too long ago that he was definitely thinking about getting back and start doing live music again, which warmed my heart.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Jackie. I mean, I've been working on some new music. And that's usually the culprit, to get back out there and, with something to say, something new to say. And, it's just a matter of recording that, documenting that in the form of an album. It could be a bunch of singles that become an album. As you know, these days you can release music in many ways. It doesn't have to be the album as it used to be, It's no longer shipping to Tower Records, that kind of thing. And I miss that. I started with long boxes, and when CDs were being shipped in those long vertical boxes, and it was an amazing time. But now, you can release what you record as you record it and not have to worry about the album, event. Very cool. That can follow later.
Let you hold that thought for a second, Juan. We'll be back. We're going into the first segment of Jackie's Groove. Again, this is Jackie Bertoni. You are listening to Jackie's Groove, and we're proud to be associated with the mighty WS Radio Networks. Again, the worldwide leader in Internet Talk Radio.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come, journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the fourth segment of the first hour of my debut inaugural release of
man.
Jackie's Groove.
Check it out.
And I also want to say on my theme music there, the engineer for tonight today is Paul. Paul's over in the corner there. Paul playing that beautiful retro Carlos Santana kind of a vibe. And also Tino playing that Benny Retfield fat walking bass on that itself. So pretty proud of that.
Thank you, brother. I'll give you $5 later.
Absolutely, by all means. And I want to jump back into it because there's just so much. I mean, you're talking about the history with Juan and myself, and we're talking 25 years. It's kind of hard to throw 25 years into 2 hours, but we'll do it, especially for the fact that this first time Juan and I got together after our initial meeting, we were vibing in my backyard when we lived in Costa Mesa, and we looked up, and it was pretty amazing because we were surprised about how light it was outside, and we realized the fact, looking at our clocks, it was 6 o'clock in the morning, so we had basically stayed up the whole night talking and getting into a really cool vibe where my beautiful wife, Caprice, and we're in this very, very deep conversation about music, and all of a sudden the drapes fly open, the porch light goes on or the backyard light goes on, and it's my wife asking everybody if we wanted cookies.
I remember.
And so she will always be known as the quintessential vibe blower, and she will never lose that moniker. When we left off in the last segment, we were talking about Saban music and the artists that have walked through there, and artists that you're responsible for bringing through there also. So why don't you go ahead and continue on with that?
Well, there's some shows that that are really music centric, beyond just score. And so there's opportunities to not only bring in songwriters, but also celebrity artists to guest. And so I had the opportunity to produce Sheryl Crow and get her to record a song for us, and for one of the shows. It's called Julius Jr., and it's on Nick Jr. Anyway, that was a really nice, opportunity just to, get with her and work with her, and it was a great experience. I went down to Nashville to her house.
Yeah, didn't you tell me she was like a regular soccer mom with the kind of vibe?
It's just a great soul and just really into the music, very, very genuine. And the experience was just a nice treat. She let me produce her, which is that's part of the battle, is when you produce someone that they let you.
Absolutely.
Produce, and she gave me just great performances, and I had actually, the challenge was to pick the right take, if you will, for what would be the song. So the song is called Nothing to It. If you guys want to chase it down on iTunes, you can find it pretty easily.
While I'm sitting here also too with Tino, not only is he a radio host and star of his own right, but he's also an amazing bass player. And I'm sure, Florentino, jump in. And I call him Florentino or Tino or Flo.
Flo, doesn't matter. T-Bone, you got to go.
Yeah, the music business is a small little area, a little small vibe that we all kind of run through. And I'm sure Tino talking, you're going to find out that I'm sure some of the same people that Juan knows that I know. So Tino. Brian Auger, go ahead and throw the list down.
Oh man, we've had some great guests. I mean, that's how Jackie came to us. He was a guest, and I immediately recognized this man should have his own show.
I understand.
So and we've had Brian Auger, Nathan East has been on the show. We've had Freddie Revelle. I know that.
Freddie was in my band a long time ago.
Yeah, the amazing players. We've
Peter Michael,
Escovedo, obviously. Michael O'Neill.
Yeah, good friend.
So these are all the amazing players, and I think that this industry, really kind of needs to recognize some of these guys that are behind the scenes. Everyone knows George Benson, but Michael O'Neill has been with George for 25 years, producing his tracks.
That's right.
And he's launching his own album. Same thing like yourself. I got a question for you.
Sure.
So when you were going down the artist route, when did you finally get that thing going? I need to see what's going on the other side of the fence with the business side.
Well, when I had this opportunity to start a label, suddenly you realize you better know how to attract artists, and the conversation just isn't just creative. It's not about being creative, although that's the part I'd love. But artists show up with managers and they show up with attorneys. Yeah, and
they all have different personalities, different thoughts, perspectives,
and different
attorneys have personalities.
And they would have, different concerns, and I would have to address those as best as I could. So I ended up doing going through a crash course of, legalese and that kind of stuff. And so I knew a lot of attorneys, and I still do, of course. And they would educate me as I went along.
One of your bass players.
Yeah, there you go. Ramiani, a great bass player who's he's head of business and legal over at Saban.
Okay.
But and it turns out there's a lot of musicians out there that are in the legal side of things. They have kind of a dual life, which is great. But for me, it was just learning the language and understanding where the template for music deals were, where that was living, and then how to work from that.
Yeah.
And then once I was immersed in that, I found that it was something I understood. Now, I can't look at a car lease contract, I'd panic. But if you show me a publishing deal or a record deal or a joint venture or license, whatever, that's where I'm okay. So for whatever odd reason, that part of business I'm very comfortable with, and I know those deals inside out at this point. I feel like I do, although there's always a new twists and turns to that.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, when I went to Saban to get into it as a music supervisor or head of music, it was. By the way, I want to point out while I'm speaking, Jackie's freaking out. Jackie's freaking out over noise down the hall, but he doesn't understand that. I think that's what makes the show is that noise down the hall.
And what you don't understand, this is my show.
Hey, man.
Okay, so I mean,
you
it's mine.
You need to embrace the elements. You can't control the elements, man. Nice try though. I'm going to check in with you in 6 months and. You'll have barbecues in the background. Hi, this is Jack Bertoni, and we're live from my house, and this is the way it is.
It's like having your first kid, right? You don't let anybody touch the kid for like the first 5 years.
There you go.
Then by the time you get your fifth kid, it's like, here, give the kid to the mechanic who's got the dirty, greasy hands. I got to get something out of my pocket or whatever. So this is Jackie.
Yeah, I feel like I'm being beat up right now, guys.
You are, because it's your inaugural. It's your maiden voyage, man.
I'm sticking up for you, brother. This is your baby, man. I'm here with you 100%.
Here's the cool thing, because
I'm definitely not.
Tino and I, we really researched this before we jumped on board itself, and I'm really, really proud, and I'm honored, again, and to have my own show, but we did some heavy investigating. There is nobody on the air worldwide actually inviting the general sector, the public, into or behind the velvet rope per se.
Yeah,
and these aren't stories that we're going to talk about. You can read in Guitar Player magazine or Drum magazine or Modern Drummer. These are things that we're talking about that we experience, and hopefully that you, the listener, finds these to be as funny or as entertaining as we do, that we lived it.
Right.
And and that's the cool thing about all the artists that are jumping on board to come and join Jackie's Groove. And again, too, their names, and they may not be everyday household names, but their bosses, the entertainers they work for, are.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get better and better and better. And again, I wanted to start out by having my best friend Juan come down here, kind of get that vibe going. We're usually sitting down in front of each other, in front of a plate of food, talking, and the girls are yammering away. But this is something that we've always talked about, and this is something that we've lived over the last 25 years together, just talking about the music business, or the lack of the word business, and need more of the music.
Yep.
And it's a privilege to have you sitting in front of me, by all means.
Thank you so much.
I'm privileged to be here in front of both you guys. I would say that when I was, I'm about the same age, but when I was younger and I would, think about being in the music business, I would want to be in a place where I'm hearing these great players who've done iconic, work together, talk about what their lives are like.
Right.
So this is a big privilege.
I want to cut it short right now. We're going to be heading into the second hour and the first segment of the second hour when we get back. Yeah, can you believe that already? You're tuned into Jackie's Groove on the mighty WS Radio Network, the worldwide leader in Internet Talk Radio. I'm going to be back here momentarily.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come, Journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
What up, everybody? Welcome back to Jackie's Groove. I'm Jackie Bertoni, your somewhat infamous radio talk show host. I'm sitting here with my dear friend, Juan Carlos Quintero. We are on I believe it's the sixth segment. I'm lost. Right. It doesn't matter. We're having a good time. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn the mic over to Juan's beautiful playing for your enjoyment. Go ahead, Juan. Yeah, man. You know, a few more lessons, brother, you're going to get this thing, you know?
I don't know.
Talk about the tone, though. Give everybody, the listeners, the title of that song. One of my favorites.
That's called La Noche.
Absolutely. Meaning?
La Noche.
At night. Last night, right?
Last night.
Okay. For those of you non-French speaking listeners. So, Juan, we talked about your position at Saban Music and the artists you brought through and so on and so forth. We know where you started. We know where you've been. We know what you're doing at Saban. Where are you hoping that this is going to lead you to? What's your next phase? What's your next step into the business?
Well, you know, I'm really interested in, with the whole idea of music and TV, music and film. It's not a new marriage by any means. I'm new to it,
right.
You know. What I mean by that is that I'm new in shaping that, you know. So I have this new opportunity. I've been working with Saban for about 5 years, but I still see it as a new opportunity, you know, in that I'm learning quite a bit about what that mechanism is. You know, by the time you hear a song on film or in a TV scene, it's not just one person deciding, you know, hey, they like that song and therefore it's going to end up in that production. It's actually a process. It's quite a sometimes very lengthy process. It involves many people, a lot of consideration. There's a license to that. There's a fee to that. There's participants tied to the copyright of a song. There's writers attached to the creating of that song. And all of those participants have a say in that process, or they assign the rights for someone to have a say in how that music is treated in that 10 or 15 second scene on screen.
And that's absolutely necessary to have this chain of command. It has to be done so it's done on the honest tip.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it. There's a sound design that the show is based on. There's there's a music signature to the show itself, that tells you why, the show is what it is. It could be a combination of the characters, the style of writing, the demographic, of course, that's tied to the show. And all these things factor into that choice of music in that one specific scene. Often, it's original music, and that's actually very interesting to me because you're now customizing music for a show. So there's a budget attached to that. There's a timeline. There's a deadline. Most artists aren't used to working, with deadlines in mind. They're creating, and I've worn that hat. I know that very well. The idea that a composer can just get a song, we need a song, okay? We need a pop song for a scene, and it's got to work in a 30-second space. We need it by next Tuesday. So now now I'm on the phone with a composer and guiding them through that process and basically letting them know I need for them to be creative this weekend, find that song in their, in their well of goodies and bring it.
It's interesting, as we've always talked about, you and me, Juan, being on many recordings. It's not so much when a producer hires you because he knows that he's going to get the best out of you because of the time together that you've spent on tape, for the lack of a better word. And you can do the best work that you feel that you've ever done, but it's the magical point is what ends up on the record. There is such a thing as the cutting room floor in the music business also. And that's why when I go in the studio, I give the producer double the amount of percussion that he's asked for because he can move it around and have at it as he would. And this is the same reason why you hire outside musicians, because you know what they're going to bring to the table, and you're not going to have to sit there and hold their hand during the session. Correct me?
Yeah, and the composing thing is it's a different avenue when you hire composers. I mean, as a composer myself, I'm very sensitive to that process in terms of how that conversation goes. And I'm trying to find the right composer for that job, if you will. And it's a casting thing in many ways. Who's the right composer for this kind of music, for what we need, and in the time that we need it. So there's a temperament issue. You could be a great composer, you can be a great guitarist, but it may not be that you're the great guitarist that can deliver this kind of music as a composer in time for an animated show, and it'll be the producers, the director. There'll be a lot of people involved in their assessment. Sometimes it's very biased, by the way. Music is like that,
right?
So you may write something that you're really in love with. You worked hard on it, and now you're sending that music in to a production team, and it gets sent back to you saying, "Can you make it faster? Can you make it slower? Can you change that last thing? It was weird at the end." And you have to be okay with that.
See, and this is what blows me out of the water, is because you as a performer, as a session player also, me as a session player, when I get hired, I do my stuff, I send it back, and that's where my obligation stops, whereas where you pick up where I left off.
Exactly.
And, and for those who have the experience in studios, by the time I'm done with the song, I don't want to hear the song again. I'm so over hearing that song. But I still get excited, because there's one thing that we're lacking in this industry, and it's record stores. Right. I used to look forward to Tuesday record release. I used to love to go to Tower Records or even prior to that, Music Plus or Licorice Pizza, and I would love to rifle through the CD bins and knowing that I am on that album, even though my name's not on the outside of the album, but it's on the inside. And this is what's lacking in this industry when you have an artist that comes out. me as a musician, you as a musician, it's very, very cool to pull out a thing called, and for those of the young listeners, it's called liner notes.
Exactly.
Which discloses everything on that, where it was recorded at, where it was produced, and moreover, the musicians that were brought in on the session. And it's very cool, A, to see your friends' names. It's even more cool to see your name on that.
Yeah.
You know, and in fact, a lot of artists now are releasing on iTunes as a bonus extra tracks, or for a couple extra pennies, you can get the liner notes. And I recommend you spend that money.
Right.
You know, Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, he was on Howard Stern a few weeks ago. And they asked him what the state of the music business was in, and also with Neil Young. And they said, is the music business dead? And they responded both by saying, no, it's just on life support. And Dave Grohl feels the fact that in the next 5 years, we will have, once again, record stores. I mean, there's still 18 tower record stores in Japan.
Right.
You know, and we've got to bring that back. We can't lose what's out there. We've got to get record sales up. You know, as we get older as musicians, we don't want to find ourselves traveling 200 days out of the year to promote an album. We got to start making money again by album sales, record sales. And I think it's going to come around. Maybe I'm living in an imperfect world.
No, I think you're right. There's that instinct. You know, I think if you're a music lover, there's a reflex to go that route. And you know, for the audience to want to hold on to something tangible. I mean, you know, there's Amoeba in Hollywood, and you walk in the Amoeba record store, and it's like 1985 in there because the place is full of CDs, and everyone's combing through them just like we used to.
Cool.
So it tells me it's not over.
Let's pick up the dream of yesteryear right after this commercial break. Pay some bills, take a pause for the cause. This is Jackie's Groove.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come, journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Beautiful one. And once again, everybody, this is Jackie Bertoni. You're tuned in to Jackie's Groove, and we're powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in Internet Talk Radio. Juan, beautiful.
Thank you.
And entitled of that, or just a nice little jam?
I'm just goofing off.
Cool, man.
Yeah. I don't know what that was.
Everybody, I want you guys to, when you get a chance, when we go off air, visit iTunes and type in Juan Carlos Quintero's music, or go to allmusicguide.com, and you can find a virtual library of everything that's everything about Juan and what he's doing. Correct?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I wanted to come back and say that was the beautiful sounds of al-di-meola, but I didn't think that would be apropos.
He's got more notes.
And you understand the black keys also, correct? But nonetheless, yeah, you know, we left off where did we leave off? We left off laughing and talking about how wonderful the music business is, and everybody should drop their instruments and jump into the music business. No, I would never say that. You know, but the fact is you have to have, unfortunately, the business part of the music to make the music business work. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, listen, if you go play at the Holiday Inn You're in the music business. You know? I mean, that's how that is. You cannot pretend you're just playing your instrument and you don't care. If you're going to play at a hotel or at a bar, a restaurant, you're doing business. Because that employer and in that moment is hiring you, right, to do it. And you're causing royalties. You know, you may not be playing your music, but that restaurant, that hotel, that bar, you're paying royalties off the music you play. So you're in the music business right away. And to me, I thought all of that was very interesting. You know,
behind the scenes situation. Even though we're in the business, we're behind the velvet rope. I love anything that's got to do with production. I love to go to see friends of mine on the Tonight Show or Fallon or whatever it may be to see how that train moves. You know, it is of all the major venues I've done, like the Universal Amphitheater, which has gone by the wayside. But watching these rooms, these venues that are all hired by union players, they don't care who you are. They don't care that you are playing with the A band. When you're under their time clock, you're under their clock, and you have to play that game. So sitting back and watching that train move and how everybody puts it all together to have those lights come up, that spotlights us once we go on.
Right.
That never gets old, you know. And I was telling a lot of young entertainers, I'm going to sit there and talk to Juan also too, and I always say this: the first time you hear yourself on radio and or TV and or the movies, you want to stop and you want to preach to everybody to say that is me, you know. And I got to tell you, I don't care if it's the first time you've heard it or the last time you heard it, that never gets old.
Yeah, it's always a special thing. But you know, there's also creepy guitar solos that I've played over the years where I want to run around the department store and say that wasn't me.
Exactly.
But I know it was me.
Yeah, I did my good friend of mine, Joanna, she was she lives in Orange County, and she was not too long ago sitting in marketing at Ralph's supermarket, and she happened to hear a song called Imagination that I recorded with Brian Wilson. And she looked over at the girl next to her, and she goes, "Do you hear that? That's my friend." And her friend looked over, and she goes, "Your friend is Brian Wilson?" And so the bottom line is, but it was just kind of a cool vibe. I mean, working with all the songs that I've played on, no matter where you are, if you're walking into a bathroom at McDonald's or walking out of the bathroom. In fact, not too long ago, I was at the Bellagio in Las Vegas. And I was walking in the bathroom, and I happened to hear Juan, and I couldn't wait to tell my wife, I heard Juan in the bathroom. And you had to be there, but it's that kind of a cool feeling because you're looking at the guy next to you in the urinal going, "Hey, man, that's my friend on the radio." And he's looking at you going, "Get away from me." But, so you've got to promote, man. You've got to push it out there. You've got to let everybody know that regardless of how long we've been in this business, you know, I'm starstruck, and I will always be starstruck. Not today.
Yeah,
but
that's right. Where's the whistle? Where's the whistle? Thank you very much.
There's a thing that Juan and I always do.
No, you do.
Well, I do. It's every time we come up with a joke that's not funny to us, or it is funny. Juan has this laugh that sounds like Beavis from Beavis and Butthead. It's true. And when Juan
mistaken with someone else,
and when Juan gets excited, his favorite line is "Disneyland, Disneyland, we." So I respond by saying,
"No, that's not what you do. He'll probably do it in 20 shows from now, and he's in the groove. He's in the Jackie Lane.
This is my show."
But you're not doing it. You're not doing it. I'm doing my thing. He's not doing his thing yet. It's about to come out.
So Juan,
I can tell.
Let me let's talk about something real quick.
Let's move on.
We're coming up. We're coming up this coming Wednesday to the infamous NAMM show 2016, held at the Anaheim Convention Center. This will be my 26th outing. In fact, when I started out in this industry, Juan, who's the one that brought me on board with LP Music Group, Juan didn't want to mention that, but Juan was one of the A&R reps for the world's largest percussion company, LP Music, which I've endorsed going on my 26th year. My cohorts and my buddies in the business would always call it the NUM show. I never understood that because I'd be there overzealous and Thursday through Sunday. And now, as a 55-year-old man, the NUM show is exactly that. I mean, it's business from 10 to 6.
Oh, yeah, it's a
full
day. But
the fun starts from 6 on. And Juan and I, we always have our annual Saturday night dinner there, and we all sit around and talk. And for those of you lucky enough to attend the NAMM show, it is the who's who of the industry itself. But you don't have to have a ticket to get in the NAMM show. You can go all the other hotels on the outside And it's fun. You can see people that have, who refuse to progress since the late 70s. Women still wearing their stretch pants, for the lack of a better word. But it's just a fun hang. It's a good place to shake hands where you're not being rushed onto a bus or onto an airplane. And so, Juan, how many years have you been there? And you're going again this year, from what you told me last week.
Yes, I've been going there since '88. And for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's a music merchant show with all of the music instrument manufacturers.
Every square inch of that
Every
convention
square
center.
inch is taken by booths of instruments.
Yeah.
So it's like a car. I see it as a big car show, except it's all instruments.
Yeah,
going from grand piano makers, whether it's Steinway to harmonica players.
And here's the faux pas.
Manufacturers.
And for the people who don't understand, you don't go to the NAMM show if your first time with your badge on, your credentials. You don't go to the NAMM show to do business. The A&R representatives at these said manufacturers are not going to talk to you. So don't walk up with your resume saying, hey, I want to play your instrument itself. So I always tell everybody else, don't talk to anybody 2 weeks before NAMM, and certainly don't talk to them 3 weeks after NAMM.
Yeah, I mean, the premise of the show is really to sell instruments, to store owners. So music store owners from all over the world show up, of course, to order and learn about new product lines for the store. It's really, that's the premise.
Money.
Yeah, it's a business, There's the B word again.
And I love going there because, we see all your buddies. I've got to do the quintessential with all my endorsements I do with Sabian cymbals and Vater drumsticks and Latin percussion. So we get a chance to do the hey, shake hands, it's good to see you, then try to make our way out to get some good food on the food trucks, etc.
Yeah, it's just a big, reunion. I have NAMM friends I never see any other time throughout the year.
Exactly.
They come in town, and so it's kind of a nice thing. I mean, I've worked that convention from many angles, and even when I was with LP as an artist relations guy, I had to be there for the first minute, the first day the door opens to the last minute. That's exhausting. I remember losing my voice, because it's a big music store essentially, and every instrument is being played at the same time.
But they do walk around with that decibel meter to make sure that you're not going over a certain sound, and they try to stop. Like they look at the strapo, I call them. Yeah. The guys that walk around with the little hats and the little suits and everything else. But as soon as they walk away, the volume goes back up to 10 as quick as it can.
These days, I just go in there to say hi to a few of the instrument makers that have given me guitars over the years, and
let them know that you're alive. Exactly.
So I go to see Godin Guitars. Robert Godin is just a brilliant guitar maker. He's been making guitars for me for.
And they're based out of what country?
They're in Canada.
And how long have you been with them as an endorser?
Oh, I've been playing Godin guitars since the mid-'90s. It's a long time.
And your string of choice?
I bounce around. I used to be with Dean Markley and then Diodario, and now I'm not with anyone purposely.
I mean, you're paying for it?
Yeah, I pay. I go. I order online. I pay for different strings. I'm kind of experimenting these days with different brands.
Are you still with the band?
When you're with an endorsement when you're in an endorsement situation, you're kind of limited. You have to honor that. It's always good to be true to that.
Well, that's part of your agreement. It's not I have to honor it. You're forced to do it. So
yeah, but no one's going to know what strings I'm playing at any given time. But I honor it. But only now I'm just not in that arrangement, so I get to play whatever I want, free of that kind of consideration. Bag end speakers, they're great speakers. Now it sounds like I'm doing the commercial thing, but anyway. So yeah, they're a speaker company that I used over the years. Others,
let's pick up that commercial after this commercial break. And once again, you're tuned in to Jackie's Groove on the Mighty WS Radio Network, the leader of Internet Talk Radio.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come, journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni. Yeah. This is Jackie's Groove on the mighty WS Radio Network's worldwide leader in Internet Talk Radio. We're here with Juan Carlos Quintero Takeover because Juan Carlos is the man playing some incredible guitar licks. I took his guitar mic away though. I feel like it's like the movie where they said you took his amp away and you just broke his spirit. I can't remember, that was Cadillac Records, but this has been an amazing show. I feel like a little kid right now because I'm hearing all these incredible stories, and I just want to congratulate Jackie on his on this show, and it's going to be huge, man. That's all I can tell you.
From your lips to God's ears, brothers.
Yeah, man.
Juan, we left off with your endorsements. You want to expand on your relationship with Godin?
Yeah. I mean, I've been playing his guitars for many years, many different types of guitars. The thing about Godin is that he's managed to design a guitar that can be played live, while it's a classical guitar, Spanish guitar, however you want to call that. And the neck, for you guitar players out there who don't know, it's kind of a hybrid neck, so that it enables you to go from a acoustic guitar, an electric guitar, and pick up a classical guitar, and the neck basically feels the same, if not pretty similar. Whereas if you pick up a legitimate classical guitar, the neck is wider, and it's a whole different game. So he's created this hybrid for electric players, for jazz players, for rock players that who have a need for the nylon string, that sound, and he's made it so that you can play it live. You can just plug it in like a normal electric guitar. I plug it in through a pedal board and it goes to the house, and it just sounds amazing. So he's created this solution, for acoustic players that would otherwise abandon their acoustic guitar and just play it electric for the sake of playing live, But he's enabled this whole situation where you can just have this sound live, this whole acoustic sound.
As long as someone doesn't take your microphone away.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. No, but the guitar I'm playing today is a Herman Vasquez Rubio guitar. And it's a legitimate classical guitar, that you don't plug in. You only play with, high-end microphones around. But you can't do that live.
Something you're not going to find at Guitar Center waiting in the to-go bin, right? I'm assuming it's got a heavy value to it. Yep.
The Rubio?
The one you're playing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
You're not getting out of this house with that alive, man. That's all I got. With Paul, especially back there, he's been eyeing it.
It was custom made for my hands. It's the kind of thing you go to a shop and he measures He's got all these necks hanging on the wall.
That's serious.
And it sounds horrible to say necks hanging on the wall, but they're just guitar necks, and you get fitted essentially for your hand.
Wow.
And then you wait 6 months and you show up and there it is. It's a magical thing.
I think the custom builders like that, I think there's a real call for that's coming up because the assembly line stuff is great. I don't take anything away from it because your Fenders, your Gibsons, they're all great pieces of gear.
Yeah.
But I found when I was introduced to my custom piece by more basses, I just can't play.
Yeah, it's hard to go back.
You can't go back. So I'm with you on that, brother.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. So on the records, I primarily record with the Rubio, and that's just the open mic. It's a controlled environment in the studio. I can play along with the band in a different room through a glass, see all the musicians, and get that experience, and yet not have to worry about the guitar being heard properly. It could still be controlled, and it's an optimum situation.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I remember in your early recordings, even live on stage, you played a lot of electric guitar, and I haven't seen anything really electric from you in a while. Reason being?
Well, we met really early when I was trying to figure out what the sound was going to be, for my sense of artistry, sense of brand,
right?
However you want to call that. So I was trying to work it out. So I was using a combination of different guitars, but ultimately I settled into the Godin for the live situation.
Well, let me ask this question too, because me with my endorsements, I've been with LP for 26 years. I've been with Sabian for 19 and Vader Percussion for 19. They have a strict rule. With LP, if I can just share real quick, I was in Maui years ago playing with the great Henry Capono and Michael McDonald, and they had the Maui Jazz Festival, and Maui Stage and Lighting had backline this huge festival. I did a private show for 2 nights, a filmed evening at the Ritz-Carlton in Kapalua. We were in a private room for 3,000 people. They called and said they apologized, but they don't have any LP gear. Well, that was okay with me because I was in a private setting, so they brought out minor percussion.
Yeah.
Played it, hate to say it, loved it, and a week later I got back and I got a letter from Latin Percussion and telling the fact that they were notified that I was playing on stage in a filmed situation something other than LP. Now, how in God's name they found out about that in a remote part of the island, and so believe me, I didn't step over that problem, or that situation again. But the question I'm asking for you is, like, when I'm on stage live or in the studio, I mean, everything is emblazed with the LP logo and or Vader or Sabian. Do you, as a guitar player, are you limited to playing Godin or playing Anderson or playing anything? Are they waving their finger at you saying they want you to represent the said guitar only?
No, it's not like that. It could be that my celebrity is not like yours, where manufacturers are insisting on that. Jackie Bertoni, man, that's a whole nother world.
Are you saying I'm somebody?
I'm just a little guitar player. I get to play a few instruments, and so no one cares what I do in the studio. But I'm actually, obviously I'm teasing you. It can be like that, endorsement deals. Of course, I used to write them, for LP. So I know what that is, and I understand it can be like that. Because I know it can be like that, I've tried to avoid that, which is kind of the irony of all that, right? Because I came from that world, and then when I went to get my own endorsements for my artistry, I avoided that very same thing, So I'm free to play whatever I want. I think really when I say endorsements, I think there was a contract once with Godin 25 years ago, whatever it was. But now it's just a relationship.
And that's exactly what it is, because after it's inevitable after NAMM, a week after NAMM, I get phone calls. Last year I got it from Typhoon Percussion. I got one from Gombops. I got one for the like of, and offering me a double truck advertisement in all the drum magazines and so on. And I told him, I said, I'm highly complimented. I'm highly, and I'm excited that you would want that. I said, but to be honest with you, I've been with LP for 26 years. The only way I'm going to leave LP is if LP doesn't re-sign me. And a couple of the guys said, you know what, it's really refreshing the fact that your loyalty is unlike a lot of players. I'm not going to upset the apple cart. I'm happy where I'm at. I still think LP is the best instrument made out on the marketplace. And and for those out there that are looking and seeking endorsements, those endorsements of yesterday are not what they are today. Don't go out there looking for free rig because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You want to get recognized. You want to be put on their roster. As when Juan is responsible for me signing with LP. Juan is the one that mentored me. For the fact is, don't go in there looking for gear. And I told Juan, I have a garage full of LP instruments. All I want from LP is the same respect that I've given them over the years.
Right.
And that's when they inked the deal. And again, I'm just celebrating 26 years with LP. Thank you, Juan, and thank you, Latin Percussion, and moreover, thank you for DW, who's taken over the realm. So
I just got on the phone. I said, "You know who Jackie Bertoni is?" When I all I had to say was your last name.
They said a great automobile manufacturer with Ferrari, right?
That's right. It's just everything happened, So
it's you're going again back to the NAMM show. And do we have to? Yes. The Juan and I, when we show up to the NAMM show, we look at each other and we look at each other dead in the eyes, and we don't have to say anything. It's like, oh my God, are we here again? Then the only thing we look for is where are we going to dinner.
That's it.
And the dinner is the best time. And I remember we sat here last year. We had dinner. And we talked about the NAMM show, and again, Juan and I being at every NAMM together. The 20 years ago, it was hey Juan, how you doing? How'd you do with the Northwood earthquake? Because they had to deal with 20 years ago. And then 10 years ago, we talked about, hey, are your parents still with us?
Yeah, sure.
And last year's NAMM show, on our 3-hour dinner, my wife stopped me in the middle of the dinner and said, "You realize for the last 2.5 hours, everybody's been talking about prostate." So once again, that just goes to show that our ages, are really creeping up on it and so on. And I always tell everybody else, you know what? It's that meeting of minds. It's seeing where the industry is going. And with that said, what do you feel, Juan? Where is the music industry in your professional opinion? Where's it heading? Where should it head, and where's it at now in your mind?
Wow. You want me to answer that?
Yes. It's my show.
I understand. This is the Jackie Bertoni show. I think the answer is really, it's about performance. I think it comes down to that, because I think that touches, I think that touches the passion that anyone would have about music in the first place. I think that the album or the CD or the MP3 file, it's just a gateway, to experience that artist live. And I've always felt that. I mean, like, I never recorded any of my records the way we played live. I always did the live version.
In your opinion, is the business? Do you think we'll have the whole business back again? Do you think we'll have record stores? What's your opinion on that?
I think there'll be different version of the record stores. I was in Urban Outfitters. I think that's the name of it. Urban Outfitters. Yes, with my beautiful girlfriend Janine, and we walk in and there's turntables. There's like a pop-up shop in the store, and there's about 30 turntables displayed and vinyl records. And it looked like a mini record store that you would find in 1975.
Why don't you hold that thought for a second, Juan? We're going to be, believe it or not, we're going to be on the last segment of this 2-hour show, and we're going to be talking more about this, finishing up, and we're proud to be brought to you by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in Internet Talk Radio.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come, journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Jackie Bertoni. You're tuned into Jackie's Groove, my first show of this amazing series of music coming up. I also wanted to let everybody know that we are powered by the mighty WS Radio Networks, the worldwide leader in Internet Talk Radio. And I also want to throw it out a special thank you to all of our friends at Pitbull Audio at www.pitbullaudio.com, and our friend Calvin Lee.
Yeah, Calvin.
And his motto is just play it loud. And all of our friends, and Juan, I'm sure you and I have used this place many times, SIR, Studio Instrument Rentals.
Oh, yeah.
You can check them out at www.sir-usa.com. You know, Juan, this is our last segment, believe it or not, in 2 hours. This is, and we have plenty more to talk about, but in this last segment, let's just talk about something next. This is the idea of Tino. You know, of all the great things we've done in our life and all the great venues and so on, this is something I've always wanted to talk about. Where in your illustrious career has been your favorite venue? A, B, what country, what city? Was there a great restaurant that you hope to go back to that area just to experience that vibe again? I mean, what comes back to mind that really touches base with you and makes you feel warm inside and fuzzy?
Wow, it's been I'm racing. My mind is racing, trying to think of that one place. You know, I played a show actually out in San Francisco at the Great American Music Hall, and
Great place,
great venue.
Yeah, it was a really sweet night because
it used to be a courthouse, didn't it?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think that originally started to be a courthouse originally in yesteryear.
Historian as well.
Yeah, it was a really cool venue. I had never played there before, and I knew about it, but I didn't have any prior experience. But it was a great night. It was anchored by or hosted by a radio station out there, and they helped fill the seats. It was packed night. And it was just one of those evenings where everything came together. But the funny thing was, not everything came together. My rig went down, so something happened with my monitor or something. It just turned off when we couldn't figure out why. And so I had to, just chat it up with the audience for a while the
and you
the
do
stagehands,
well.
the stagehands. Well, thank you, but it was just in the moment, and you kind of go with it. So the stagehands were out there fixing it, doing whatever it was, and 10 minutes turned into 15 minutes, and on stage, as you know,
right.
That seems like hours,
of course,
when you're not playing music. So it just turned into an opportunity, that one incident, that circumstance. It just turned into an opportunity because out of that, there was a different kind of connection with the audience. A different bonding took place because it became just, I became a normal, real person. I am a normal, real person. But, somehow the stage and the lighting, you're elevated into this other thing. But that situation transcended all the showbiz, the illusion that we set up.
Of course.
Right? And there was a oneness in the room that kind of took over, and it was great. And so when we played, they fixed whatever that was, the whole technical thing. And then when we started playing again, it turned out to be a great evening because of that. I don't know what would have happened if everything was normal and everything worked beautifully. Maybe, I'm sure it would have been a great evening, but maybe in a different way. But because this, we're all stuck in the elevator together.
Right.
Yeah.
It was that moment. And so out of that came, it just turned into a beautiful evening, and it was a whole nother thing. And I couldn't play anything wrong at that point. I was floating. I don't remember what we played. I can't even tell you the set list or any of that. And in fact, Freddie Ravel was on the date. He was touring with us.
Yeah.
It was
been on the show.
It was a very small tour, but he was with us. And it was really early on. My first album had come out, so I was doing some really big shows because the record did well, and I was very blessed with that. But that's the standout. That's the one that stands out. And I've done many since, but that's the one.
Let me tell you what the aha moment for you is. Juan did years ago a great series of concerts at the San Juan Capistrano, the Mission.
Oh yeah, of course.
Sold out night. We were just. It was a beautiful night, and Juan, in all of his glory and his articulating ways of speaking to the audience and having audience in his back pocket, Juan said the next song we're going to play is off my album, and the song is called After the Rain.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, it started to rain.
I remember that.
And I think Juan's response was he looked up at the skies and said, I guess you're listening, or something like that. But it was just one of those, it's like Spielberg saying, okay, cue the rain. and that was one of my favorite nights of all. It was just that you couldn't have experienced better. And those are the certain times when you're on stage, when you've killed it.
Yeah.
And it's okay to give yourself a high five. And also, Tino, this when you're on stage with, 4 other monkeys up there and we're all playing and stuff. And it's just a really good night, and we're all smiling at each other, almost forgetting the fact that there is an audience out there.
Yeah.
That we've actually experienced it as brothers or sisters on stage. That you hope that you can, replicate every time you walk on stage, and it's true. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
And you learn from that. And there's times you walk on stage and you beat the living hell out of yourself because you really sucked.
Right.
And I learned from years ago is that if you're in the middle of a song and you make a mistake, if you forget the words or you forget to come in your cue, when you come back to that same part of the song, do the same thing again.
Right.
And we as seasoned musicians, we laugh at each other on stage. We don't bitch at each other for doing that. And the audience gets once again becoming real to the people.
Yeah.
And there's one thing I noticed about Juan's group and a lot of the groups that I've been blessed to work with over the years. When we get done performing, the first thing we do is we all come to the front of the stage. We all interlock hands or shoulders, and we bow to the audience, thanking them for making us who we are and for respecting that. And I think more groups need to do that, is to give back to the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of reminds me of like the show here where you're inviting people in to your world where your good friend is here with you. And that same thing, like the experience you had on the stage, was at that particular moment with all those kind of things kind of converging and chaos happening, people became
part of the group, and they were involved with experience as opposed to just being on the outside looking in. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, you hope for more of those kind of moments, but you do want technically everything to work out.
And you know what I hope for also? I hope the fact that the listeners out there are really enjoying this, because I can speak for myself. I don't care who I am or think I am. When I'm hired for somebody I've worked with before, or even someone who is the epitome of fame, they don't have attitude, so I don't have an attitude. These are real people, but I got to tell you, truth be told, when you see somebody on TV and all of a sudden, or on the radio, and they're in front of you, there is that, wow, this man has touched, people's lives. The music has brought somebody through depression or somebody's death or, whatever it may be. And it's so nice that the old cliche, if you can just touch one person with your talents. Yeah. Because nobody gets in the music business to starve.
No.
I mean, unfortunately, but I don't believe that. You're in the business for, I'm happily married for 32 years, but we got into the business because females became available.
I took guitar lessons to meet the girls.
Absolutely.
It was simple as that. There was no lofty, sophisticated reason or deep reason. That's why I started playing guitar. And
also, everybody out there, too, the non-musicians, but we understand one important fact, that there is nothing glamorous, to reiterate, about this business. I mean, the on the road is fun, hanging out with the guys, hanging out in hotels itself, but these days during sound check, which is all day long, the excitement, the glamour, the glitz does not start until those lights go up.
Right.
And we have to pay homage to the road crew. They're there before we're there, they're there with us, and they're there after we're gone.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a whole mix of family that makes this situation happen. And I just want to say, to the listeners out there, please, let me know at jackiesgroove.com. You can also WSradio.com and email them. And if you enjoyed what you heard, please come back, because this is just the beginning of a series of welcoming you behind the velvet rope to let you know that we are real people, but it's very cool overall. Juan, I want to thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. I love you, brother.
Thank you, Jackie.
We have an amazing meal waiting for us in the background with my wife, Caprice, and Janine, and thanking Stacy. Excuse me. Tracy. Hello. And everybody, Paul and Tino. Once again, this is Jackie Bertoni. You're tuned into Jackie's Groove, and you're powered by the mighty WS Radio Network's worldwide leader in Internet Talk Radio. Check my site. We'll see you next Monday with percussion great Gumbi Ortiz from al-di-meola's band. Once again, thank you very much, and my moniker is always Peace Through Music.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.